Tonight, farmers and the government meet to discuss and tackle drought impacts, and the regional tourism economy is set to benefit from a major upgrade.
From our 7 Spencer Golf Studios, your nightly news with Louise Huber begins now.
Good evening. Farmers and pastoralists have today expressed their concerns over the impact the drought is having on their livelihoods. The government hosting a drought forum to gain an insight into struggles facing industries.
Almost a full house at round 2 of the government's drought forum, with attendees receiving only 2 days' notice.
Shows the importance to this community. Very, very good attendance today. Very, very good questions, good feedback. We'll go away. We'll put that into our think tank, and then we'll look at ways that we can refine our drought support package.
This is a great opportunity for the community to come and make sure that the government still understand that they are suffering and that they do still need support.
The Minister hearing issues and concerns from those on the ground.
This is a very important part of South Australia, a very, very important part of our economy, and we've got to make sure that we retain these communities, these families, so that we can actually get through this drought.
Kangaroo and wild dog management also discussed.
They are issues that are putting pressure on pasture, on grass, on feed, but they're also issues that are putting pressure on their livestock.
Last year, the government announced a $21 million drought relief package. Today, hearing from those most in need.
That is encouraging, because we often think that everything falls on deaf ears, but there were some meaningful responses made, and it is encouraging that they've come back again to hear what the community think.
Laura Milovanovic, 7 Spencer Golf News.
Major upgrades to the Southern Flinders Ranges are a step closer to reality and have been labelled a game changer for the region. The $10 million plan is tipped to further transform the area into a mecca for outdoor adventurers.
Turning the first sod representing a welcome step forward for regional tourism. Our Premier, 3 state ministers and the federal tourism ministers side by side at Mount Remarkables National Park to celebrate the 5-year project, which is finally underway.
Well, the Flinders has always been a special place for tourism. The Southern Flinders now, I think, 2 hours from Adelaide could be an absolutely fantastic attraction.
Building of some basic trails now should all be concluded over the course of the next year or so, and it's going to provide a real lift to a region that's already renowned for its beauty.
Nukina landowners hosting a traditional emu bush smoking ceremony. This park ranger describing the $10 million boost as a game changer for tourism in the region, excited to show off his worksite to the world.
Currently is a bit of a secret to a lot of people, and conservation of our fauna and flora, but also to create fabulous recreation opportunities for the community.
The move, jointly funded by state and federal governments, tipped to reinvigorate the area. Among the facilities planned an international biking track and upgraded walking trails.
There's accommodation providers and people interested particularly in mountain biking have been waiting a long time to see this happen, and today marks the beginning of it.
A lot of young people are telling me that 50-kilometre epic mountain bike trail is going to be the best in Australia.
Regional Development Australia has been instrumental in getting the project off the ground. Port Pirie's Deputy Mayor has been pushing for this project for nearly 20 years.
A long time in the works, and with a lot of players involved, and certainly there's a lot of people that can be justifiably proud that this has come to fruition.
The project aims to entice visitation to the area and provide an economic boost for regional tourism operators post-COVID-19 drought and bushfires.
Maybe they can't go overseas this year to Bali, or maybe to the Northern Hemisphere, so they're spending more and more time in their own backyard, and they're loving what they're seeing.
The Southern Flinders Ranges is one of many sites to receive this funding, including Kangaroo Island. Shari Hams, 7 Spencer Golf News.
Police are continuing to randomly spot check restaurants, pubs and hotels across the Spencer Gulf, ensuring they have a COVID-safe management plan in place. Authorities warn hefty fines will be given out to businesses who don't follow South Australia's current restriction guidelines.
It's not the time to become complacent, is the latest strong message from Whyalla Police to keep COVID out of our communities.
So it's really important that people don't slip up and don't become complacent, because we are making regular checks.
They've been busy checking in on local businesses to make sure they're doing the right thing with their COVID-safe management strategies, reiterating the message to business owners of the importance of staff and customers adhering to all the plans in place, a critical step in creating and keeping a COVID-safe environment.
We're happy with what we're seeing locally, however it's important that we don't become complacent. It's really important to emphasise that businesses and patrons both have a shared responsibility.
The Whyalla Foreshore Motor Inn said to be a local business properly adhering to strict hygiene practices.
We took our guidelines from the AHA and also the Restaurant Association, where we have to ask everyone to sign in when they come into the restaurant. You'll note that we've got pouches for the cutlery, the glasses are put upside down instead of the normal way you would serve in a restaurant.
Barbara says customers have been more than willing to oblige by the new rules.
As far as checking into the hotel, people have to sign a special document which has been produced by the AHA, where people have to tell us whether they've come from overseas, whether they've come from interstates.
While checks so far have proved positive, authorities warn those who are not following South Australia's COVID-safe protocols could receive a fine of up to $5,000.
For any businesses that want advice in relation to COVID-safe plans, we would ask them to go to the SA Health website, where there's a suite of tools.
Sophia Contigonis, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Still to come tonight, a plea from animal welfare workers to drive carefully and watch out for wildlife. And members of the Country Women's Association get busy knitting woolen goods for people in need. Welcome back. Animal welfare workers in Port Lincoln are pleading with drivers to take extra care on the roads after a spike in collisions with wildlife. Care workers say their facilities are now overrun with orphan joeys and wombats, many who've sustained serious injuries.
Injured, scared and bewildered, these are the lucky survivors rescued from the side of the road.
Mum's been hit by a car and, people have stopped and checked the pouches and, found little joeys.
Dozens of orphan kangaroos end up here at Port Lincoln's Pumpkin Patch Nursery for a second chance at life. The recent baby boom mixed with a spike in traffic on the road has seen a dramatic increase in kangaroos being hit.
Keep an eye out, slow down through those areas that you are, knowing that they're prone to having a lot of roo traffic.
Any minute the phone can ring for more coming in.
If you do hit a roo, check its pouch for a joey and call the vet or contact Rufus the couch kangaroo. In the past month, Kim Hayward has rescued 6 joeys and her first wombat.
I'm exhausted. Yeah, it's very tiring. They're just like bringing up really human babies. There's a lot of work that goes into them, a lot of care and a lot of sleepless nights, but I wouldn't have it any other way. Love it.
This little orphan Willow was brought in a month ago after her mother was hit by a car. Fortunately, she was rescued from the pouch and is on track to bounce back to life with a new family here at the sanctuary. But not all make it. Her little Pinky was rescued last week after her mother was hit by a car. She suffered horrific injuries to her leg and was put down.
His leg was too badly fractured to be rehabilitated in any well manner, so yeah, we opted to euthanize him.
Kim's sanctuary is rapidly growing, now housing 24 roos and a wombat. South Australia is the only state that makes it illegal to release orphan joeys back into the wild and have to be kept at a sanctuary, putting more pressure on animal workers.
The problem we're going to face is that when you get full, where do they go?
But despite the challenge, Kim says she'll never close her door on a roo in need. Nathan Rector, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
A new disabled toilet block is taking shape at the Whyalla Foreshore, ready to open by the end of the month. The facility, currently under construction, will feature a shower, air conditioning, a height adjustable change table, a tracking hoist and non-slip flooring. Whyalla Council receiving $100,000 in grant funds for the project is part of the state government's $1.7 million program aiming to increase access for people living with a disability. With the cold weather settling in, it can be a very difficult time for those sleeping rough, but a new Pay It Forward campaign is helping to fight the winter chill. Port Lincoln's Country Women's Association knitting scarves and beanies for those in need.
putting needle to thread for a good cause.
There's always a need, and with these cold nights, with code blue, people in need to have some warmth, and it's one way of us helping.
In the dead of winter, temperatures in Port Lincoln can reach below 5 degrees, but a new campaign to knit life-saving gloves, scarves and beanies for those in need has kicked off across South Australia, hoping to keep those struggling warm during the icy night.
Not just for people sleeping rough though, we're increasingly seeing numbers of people who can't afford the rising cost of electricity alongside all of their other bills.
The Country Women's Association raising funds for its Pay It Forward campaign to help gift vital clothes to people in need, with the first truckload of warm clothes on its way to Port Lincoln in the coming days.
Seeing children's faces light up when they get a new beanie and they come into the office and are able to get something warm to put on their head, it's really awesome.
Anyone wanting to pay it forward can buy a scarf for $10 and gloves or beanies for $5, all being gifted to someone in need.
Those goods will be issued to people in Loxton and Catherine House in Adelaide and our West Coast here.
Like many charities, the CWA has been heavily impacted by the pandemic, with donations and fundraisers frozen. Organisers say it's making it increasingly hard to continue their work.
We know that Country Women's Association has heavily supported drought-impacted communities across South Australia in the last year or so, and so this is an opportunity for the community to give back.
For more information, visit the Country Women's Association website. Nathan Regter, 7 Spencer Golf News.
Stay with us after the break. Indigenous stories up on display and a special celebration for Bastille Day at a Port Augusta aged care facility. Hello again. Years of research into Indigenous stories within Whyalla have been published on the Council's website as part of Cuddlefest. The online presentation discusses Indigenous connections with the ocean and the species.
Dreamtime in Whyalla, an online history lesson into the long list of Whyalla's Indigenous connections.
Spencer Gulf and the early Aboriginal heritage is so fascinating. Especially when you think that the Spencer Gulf 10,000 years ago was a dry valley.
In 2005, this council member Paul Mazurik started his research into the project. His original aim to create an exhibition at the Maritime Museum solely surrounding Indigenous heritage of the city. In 2008, his work came to fruition.
So until then, there was nothing like that.
Since then, Paul has created a 3-part Cuddlefest activity for locals of all ages to get involved in. The first, a PowerPoint presentation published on Council's website.
It's all about the Aboriginal stories in Whyalla and around Whyalla, and basically dream stories and then comparison to the European stories of similar content.
The second, a history lecture into the world of cuttlefish, revealing the untold secrets into their uniqueness and why they have 3 hearts.
Everything what you need to know about cuttlefish, so it's all there, including terrestrial marine environment, what they eat, how they eat.
This year has really taken a turn that we were unexpected. It's been great to see so many local South Australians exploring Whyalla, the cuttlefish opportunities.
The third activity is a downloadable and interactive brochure, which can be found here at Whyalla's Visitor Centre. It discusses Whyalla's famous Indigenous coastal ritual and also provides a map of how and where Indigenous people used to hunt for fish.
We're really encouraging people to come and have a look at those. Our connection, I guess, to the Point Lolly area in Fitzgerald Bay. So the Indigenous connection there is got lots of history and lots of really great stories.
Sophia Contagonis, 7 Spencer Golf News.
Residents of the Edenfield Family Care Home have been treated to a special lunch to celebrate the National Day of France. Residents treated to a 3-course meal of French cuisine for Bastille Day.
Red, white and blue in the Ramsay Lounge today. One of the first group lunches the home has had for months.
Just thought that we haven't been able to have all our big celebrations because of COVID, so we thought we'd have we celebrated Bastille Day last year as an afternoon tea, so this year we thought we'd go one further.
The chef dishing up a 3-course meal.
We did a crevette remoulade, which is a French prawn cocktail. Then we did coq au vin, which is chicken in a wine sauce, and then a creme brulee.
Finding his feet in French cuisine, Nathan was thrilled to dish up his passion.
My training is purely French, so I spent a lot of time overseas cooking French cookery in fine dining restaurants, so it was a good opportunity to do it for the residents and show what we can do and give them something special.
Giving the residents a taste of France, just the start.
Well, I think myself it was wonderful because it gave the residents of Ramsey a little trip to France.
The residents watching French films and listening to French music while tucking in.
They just love learning a little bit about a different culture and getting all coming out together and having a meal together.
Laura Milovanovic, 7 Spencer Golf News.
Stay with us. Coming up after the break, we'll have this week's Fuel Watch and the weather with Britt. Hello again. Now time to see how things are shaping up when we fill the tank. Here's Nathan Rector in Port Lincoln with this week's Fuel Watch.
As South Australia's school holidays come to a close this weekend, it's not looking too bad to fill up the tank and head home, with petrol prices across regional centres dipping in the past week. Starting with unleaded, and Port Lincoln has remained the same from last week, while Whyalla has dipped to $1.19. Port Augusta has jumped up to $1.22, and Port Pirie has also seen a slight rise, now sitting at $1.17 a litre. Kadina is also sitting at $1.17, while the Silver City has had a drop to $1.23, still the most expensive in the region. Adelaide has had the biggest drop, now averaging $1.09. Turning over to diesel now, and we've seen some movement since last week. While Port Lincoln has stayed the same at $1.17, Whyalla, Port Augusta and Port Pirie have all seen a marginal rise. $1.20 for Whyalla, $1.17 for Port Augusta and Port Pirie. Kadina has seen a 3-cent drop, now averaging $1.14 a litre, while Broken Hill is also feeling some relief to the hip pocket, now sitting at $1.25 a litre. Adelaide has remained the same since last week on $1.14. Finishing off with a quick look at autogas, and it's good news. Port Lincoln has dropped by 2 cents, now averaging 89 cents a litre, and Whyalla has also seen a drop with fuel now at 84 cents a litre. Port Augusta, Port Pirie, Kadina and Broken Hill have all broken even, while Adelaide has seen a 1 cent drop, now sitting at 76 cents a litre. Now remember, these prices are the regional averages and do not reflect any one particular outlet. And if you do find a spot that does sell unleaded diesel or autogas for cheaper, make sure to let us know on our Facebook page.
Now for a look at your weather, here's Britt Aylin.
Thanks, Louise, and good evening. We had another cold and frosty morning about the Spencer Gulf region, with Clare recording a low of -1.3 before 8 o'clock this morning. It did warm up to a sunny day though, Woodner with the region's high of 20 degrees, Port Augusta and Whyalla both 18. It reached a top of 17 at Port Lincoln today, as well as Kadina and Cleve, 16 at Port Pirie and Coffin Bay, Broken Hill 15. Now let's take a look at today's clear skies via the satellite, with very little cloud activity thanks to a high pressure system. Moving on to tomorrow, northerly winds on the Gulf waters at around 10 to 15 knots, but becoming variable later in the afternoon. Seas between 1 and 1.5 metres with south to southwesterly swells. Sunny at Port Lincoln tomorrow with fog about in the morning, a top of 15 degrees. Cleve sunny and 17, early fog at Woodner, then sunny and 19. Whyalla sunny tomorrow, 18 the high there. Another cold and frosty morning at Port Augusta with a low of 2 degrees, warming up to a sunny 20 degrees in the afternoon. Kadina sunny and 16. Sunny at Port Pirie tomorrow, a high of 18. Clare sunny and 15. Broken Hill also sunny with a top of 17 degrees. Taking a quick look further through to the end of the week now, and we've got another sunny day coming up on Friday with maximum temperatures in the late teens and early 20s. Unfortunately though, that sunny streak is set to end on Saturday with showers about the lower Eyre Peninsula. Strong winds about the York Peninsula and fine and partly cloudy conditions forecast elsewhere. Maximum sitting between 16 and 20 degrees. And finally to Sunday now, with showers forecast about the west coast, lower Eyre Peninsula, mid-north and York Peninsula districts. Looking partly cloudy elsewhere. And Louise, that is it from me. It's back to you.
Lovely, thank you for that, Britt. And that wraps up your local news for this Wednesday evening. Thank you for joining us. We'll have updates later on. Have a lovely evening. Good night.